Welcome to the daring, top-secret world that exists hundreds of feet below the ocean's surface.
18 minutes. This ship may could be.
Life on a submarine can be really exciting. But wait, there's more.
Head down, midship ahead.
In any battle, the element of surprise is extremely important. It can mean the difference between returning to port victorious or sinking to a watery grave. Submarines can travel undetected, strike without warning, and then just disappear again into the murky depths of the ocean. They are the perfect stealth weapon. And from the Civil War through till today, these silent killers have changed the world. This is the torpedo room. The torpedoes are ready to fire. Fire the torpedoes. Hello? Working deep below the surface of the icy North Atlantic ain't easy, but the crew of the Canadian submarine Windsor overcomes the dangers so that they can carry out their missions in secret.
There was actually a bit of a shortage of volunteers to go into submarines. And I was part of one of these guys that got volunteered to be a submariner. And so I did my training and I really enjoyed it. I always had a fascination about it. The advantage of a submarine is a stealth capability. And how you decide to use that is up to the military command and the government of the day. I mean, the spectrum is huge. You're providing a quiet, hard to detect surveillance platform. And that can also provide the full gamut of combat operations. I carry 18 torpedoes on a maximum load on board, and that's enough to take care of an aircraft carrier group, for example. So, you know, you have the firepower too if you decide to use that.
Getting 2,400 tons of steel and 50 people safely underwater is no easy task. The key to the whole process? Buoyancy. What makes submarines special is that unlike surface ships, they have complete control over their buoyancy, which allows them to either dive or surface at will. Let's try it out. Dive, dive, dive! I've always wanted to say that. A submarine has special ballast tanks on board that can be filled with either water or air. To dive underwater, a sub will flood the tanks with water and vent the air. This increases the density and the sub begins to descend. Hydroplanes at the back of the boat are angled to help it dive. When the sub reaches the desired depth, the hydroplanes level it off. Air and water from the trim tanks are used to match the sub's density to the surrounding water, making the sub easier to maneuver. Now, when the captain wants to surface, compressed air is injected into the ballast tanks and the water is ejected. The hydroplanes are angled the opposite way, and the boat comes back up to the surface. Science guys and inventors as far back as the Egyptians have been motivated by the promise of the underwater surprise attack. So the submarine was born a weapon. Maybe not always an impressive-looking weapon, but a weapon nonetheless. This hand-powered sub was the first to use a propeller or screws for propulsion. Its creator, David Bushnell, tried to sink a British warship during the American Revolutionary War. His plan? To drill a hole and secure a bomb to the ship's hull. Unfortunately for Bushnell, that hull was just too darn tough, and his drill, well, it didn't work. Bushnell's sub might have failed, but the idea had legs, or fins. During the Civil War, both sides tried using subs. For the South, they offered a chance to strike back at the Northern blockade. 150 years after it disappeared, This Confederate sub, designed by Horace Hunley, was discovered off the coast of North Carolina. After the salvage operation, the wreck was brought immediately to the Lash Conservation Center, where a specially designed water tank has been built to protect the sub from the corrosive effects of the air.
Without the tank, you would not be able to do any Hunley project. The reason being that whenever you raise such a big artifact loaded with iron and fragile materials, you need to take care of this artifact. So we had to implement this interesting design so we could keep the Hunley in refrigerated water for most of the excavation. But you need to work on the submarine, so you need to drain the tank, work, and at the end of the day, you fill the tank up. In my world, preserving is on the long term. Preserving the Hunley for future generation, which entails keeping it forever. This is not just a submarine. This is one of the granddaddies of all submarines.
On a chilly February night in 1864, the crew of the Hunley snuck up on a northern ship, the USS Housatonic. The Hunley used a long spar to attach an explosive charge to the side of the Housatonic. Moving clear, they detonated the charge and sent the northern ship to the bottom. The Hunley fired a single flare to signal their success, but then disappeared beneath the dark waves.
Here we have a true time capsule from the Civil War. It's an intact vessel. Not only do we have the boat itself, but we have the entire crew found on the inside with everything that they carried. There were 7 crew members who would have pushed a hand crank that operated the propeller. Imagine that. You're in this dark, very confined environment for hours at a time and could never even stretch up. The captain of the vessel was stationed right here underneath the forward conning tower. And he was the only person in the submarine that could actually sit upright. The submarine was a stealth weapon, and all it had to be was be invisible. When you look at the Hunley, you're really looking at the first class of modern submarines. To put it in perspective, she weighs perhaps 10 tons. She goes up against an enemy, 1,240 tons, over 200 feet long, and sinks it in minutes. That's a powerful message.
Old Horace couldn't have possibly known that his submarine would change the entire world. But his little sub proved that underwater warfare was possible, and that if you could operate while you were submerged, then man, you had a massive tactical advantage. And since that point, every war, both hot and cold, has been fought using these guys. Well, not necessarily these guys, but submarines in general.
What's long and hard and full of seamen? A submarine, get it? It's a bad joke, I know, but the seaman thing does raise a practical point. You have to be a pretty specific breed of cat to want to sail in a submarine. You have no personal space, you don't see the light of day for weeks or sometimes months on end, and you have to be a technical expert in a number of fields. I'd be in trouble. Here to give me a crash course on what life is like below the surface is Buster Brown, a 35-year veteran of the Canadian Submarine Service. What is this place, this small little place you've brought me to?
We're aboard the submarine Onondaga, recently decommissioned some 5 years ago. This is the forward sailor's mess, as it was colloquially known. About 25 personnel would actually mess in this compartment.
So this is where you slept? I don't know if I could get up in here. Buster, how would you do? Is this the strap? You grab that thing?
Well,
or?
the first thing you need to be is tired.
Right. I'm stepping on someone else's bunk there. Would that earn me a shot in the...
That's about right. That's kind of...
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a great fit.
And you can get a very, very good sleep, one of those 2x6s.
Can't be like a sort of tossy-turvy type sleeper, huh?
No, that's one thing I still do today. I sleep flat on my back.
Like a board.
Like Egyptian PT, like that.
This is comfy.
Now, as time goes on, you become a bit more senior on the mess deck. You earn, let's say, a better bunk.
Better bunk than this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Nope. Oh. Okay. First day of the job. I want to drive the boat.
All right, well,
Want to
let's
drive
not
the
be,
boat.
okay, well, let's not do that yet. We are alongside, but it's not a good idea to do that until you've had a little bit of instruction on it, okay?
Okay.
The one-man control is a very unique system that was come out popularly in submarines in the 1960s. Full dive on the
Yeah.
planes, okay?
Right.
That takes them down to full dive, full
Right.
saturation.
Full
Okay?
saturation.
Full saturation, that's the technical term for it.
Okay.
Here would be your rudder.
Right.
If I said to you full rise,
I would
you just pull it
back.
right toward you. Full rise in the plane. Now you're passing midships.
Okay.
There you
Whoa.
are.
Yeah.
Now I
Wasn't
said
a
the
heavy
full rise
guy.
in the plane, starboard 30.
Starboard 30. There we go.
Now each and every time you arrive at that destination of starboard 30 and full rise, you report back. Say full rise in the planes,
Full rise in the planes.
midships, and then
Midship.
you bring the wheel to midships.
Right.
No, and then planes, midships is the rudder,
Okay.
and then planes and midships. Now you come to
Planes and
midships.
midships.
There you go. And it should
Right
stop
there,
right
I feel,
there.
yeah.
There.
That's it. How much chit chat would be going on here?
Very, very little. The discipline in the control room is such that if you need to speak to anybody, make sure you whisper if it's not interfering with the exchange of orders.
Right.
But if an order does come across, like, flood queue, something
Flood
like
queue,
that.
right.
Well,
I don't know
that's
what
not
that
your
is,
job,
but I'd
flood
go
queue,
right.
and the person responsible for flooding queue
Flood-
is back there.
flood queue.
No,
Oh.
back here, back
Oh, okay.
on the diving panel.
Right.
He's the one that would respond to that. Flooding queue.
Flooding queue.
No.
Oh,
You
okay.
be quiet.
Oh,
You're
okay,
on the
right,
wheel,
right.
okay? The guy back here would do all that. You see,
Oh,
he'd
okay.
be responding. You get pretty noisy in here during an attack.
And you don't go, shut up, I'm working.
No, no, you don't.
Okay.
And you got one other thing to do here too, is that sometimes general pipes throughout the submarine. If you're on the surface, as an example, it would be up to you to make pipes that.
So you have-
I don't mean whistling. A pipe is the term to make an announcement. Okay?
Oh, okay.
For instance, one hand on the bridge. For whatever reason, bring tools to the bridge or whatever the case. You're the
Right.
means of communication
Coffee
between
to
the
the
bridge.
helm. Not that kind of order.
No. Or, bridge control permission, 2 hands up on the bridge for a smoke, as an example. And he say, you come back, yes, please.
Going for butt.
Yeah, or something like that, or the waste pipe. So
Right.
you're the middle communications number throughout the submarine on
You're
the
the
surface.
DJ.
You could call it
Sup,
that. Yeah.
everybody.
I hope you get your dolphins on, Jeff. You gotta
I'm ready to drive the boat.
Full dive in the plane. Starboard
Nice.
30.
Lock it off. Coffee on the bridge.
It was during the First World War that submarines really transformed into functional war machines. On the surface, subs used diesel engines to charge massive batteries, and when they wanted to run underwater, they could switch over and rely on that battery power. These early subs were still pretty inefficient, so they had to spend most of their time on the surface and could only submerge to attack. In the run-up to World War II, the Germans built the largest submarine fleet in the world, and subs in the 1940s had better battery and engine systems so they could stay underwater longer, making them that much more dangerous. This culminated in the Battle of the Atlantic, where Hitler's U-boats hunted in wolf packs, sinking millions of tons of Allied shipping during the first part of the war. Cracking the Enigma code the Germans used for communication and increasing their convoy escorts helped the Allies to win the Battle of the Atlantic. It also ushered in the first real era of submarines hunting each other beneath the waves, often for weeks at a time. That's a long time to hold your breath. Early submarines were also limited by their need to come up for air. But nowadays, subs use a pair of environmental systems to provide air for the crew. Small chemical cylinders called candles are used to start a reaction that generates oxygen. An especially designed air filter works to remove carbon dioxide from the sub.
If the levels start to drop slightly, we have to start the oxygen generator, and we normally coincide that with running up the CO2 absorption unit. Basically what happens, you have 4 canisters that you run up. The center of the cans get cut out, okay? And what it does, it has a small vacuum pump inside. The pump will draw the air through the canister, scrubbing out the CO2 that's in it. The O2 generator, you open up the lower chamber, you take your oxygen candle, you place it inside. There's a 410 cartridge, it's a 410 blank that we use. Gets fitted into the top here. Once you secure the striker, give it a big bang. That'll start the chemical reaction inside the candle, and you'll hear the air being generated through. Using an O2 generator or a CO2 absorption unit, it's something that we're all trained for. it's a life and death thing, really, when you look at it. If I'm unable to, to do that job, there has to be someone else that's capable of doing it as well.
Better life support was just one of the changes submarines went through after World War II. Now that they could spend more time submerged, navies developed a more hydrodynamic teardrop shape for the sub. For the first time, they were faster underwater than on the surface. This design, and a new fuel source, nuclear power, transformed the submarine into the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cold War. During the Cold War, not only were many submarines powered by nuclear reactors, they could actually launch nuclear missiles. Now, as you can imagine, it's pretty darn hard to be super accurate when you're firing from underwater. So the subs just targeted major cities. This led to the charming Cold War policy of mutual assured destruction, or MAD for short. Now, basically, MAD meant that if I launch a nuclear attack on you, then you could have a hidden submarine ready to conduct a retaliatory strike on me. And before you know it, property values all over the world are dropping as a result of the mushroom clouds and the soaring radiation levels.
Yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo! Top of the morning to you, Ma! Well, luckily, we didn't destroy ourselves, but it turns out that the nuclear submarine proved to be the perfect Cold War weapon. And truthfully, today it's still a pretty damn strong deterrent because essentially, it can be hidden anywhere in the ocean for months at a time. But the evolution of the submarine did not stop there, my friends. Oh, no, it did not.
Non-nuclear subs have also continued to develop and take on new roles. Take the HMCS Windsor here. She's one of 4 new diesel and battery-powered subs in the Canadian Navy. Because of the efficient battery system, the Windsor is actually quieter underwater than most of its nuclear counterparts. Currently, the sub and her crew are participating in a joint operations naval training exercise. That's kind of fancy speak for hide-and-go-seek with surface ships. In the exercise, the surface ships use all their resources to try to find the submarine before Commander Luke and his crew get close enough to fire a pretend torpedo at them.
You know, ships are targets. So we look at them that way, and we have a 3-dimensional battlefield to play with, where the ships really have a 2-plane. I mean, they're on the surface, right? We can use the water mass to our advantage to be able to remain covert and hide. So you try to be quiet and you try to be slow. As soon as you put, speed on and you really, drive it like you stole it type of thing, it's a lot easier to see it because you see, oh, this thing is moving very fast. Well, it's probably not a whale. It's probably not a dolphin.
This is the ops room on board HMCS Fredericton, and right now it's the nerve center for the sub hunt. But looking for a submarine in the ocean is a little like trying to find a needle in a very soggy haystack.
We have a start location for the submarine, so that we have an idea of where to look, and a start position for all the ships. Right now, our job is to find the submarine and conduct simulated attacks on it so we can practice our procedures. The submarine has some advantages in that they're quieter. It is more difficult for us to hear them than it is for them to hear us. There's usually just one submarine in the area, whereas we may have many ships, several helicopters, aircraft, all of whom can essentially gang up on the one submarine. Until you get that first idea or that first inkling that the submarine is actually there, it's very difficult because the ocean's huge.
The key to this whole darn exercise is sonar. It works by transmitting a sound wave or a ping out into the water. Any solid object will bounce the signal back, and the information within the echo helps to paint a picture of what is going on beneath the surface. On board the Windsor, Joe McDonald is using sonar to turn the tables on the surface ships.
Basically, if we're below periscope depth, that means that the only sensor that is left is sonar.
Joe relies on passive sonar, which means just listening to the sounds in the ocean to find the ships. Using active sonar, or that ping, would give away their position to the Fredericton.
This represents the amount of noise that we're making on the submarine, the noise that's being emitted from us. We'll get an indentation, giving us the idea that, okay, there's something out there that's making more noise in the water. Obviously, it's a contact. Gives us a bearing of where the contact is, and it corresponds to this one up here, which is called waterfall. and you can line up to whichever noise spoke that you have. So right now I'd be listening to exactly what's on the bearing of 256. The most common thing that you're going to get at first will normally be the sound of its propeller going around. There are all little tiny pieces of the picture that my guys will sit down, they'll listen to. We all come together on what the classification might be.
As the Windsor draws dangerously close, the crew of the Fredericton still has not detected them.
Submarines don't like having people know where they are, so they tend to not exactly be where you expect them to be, and then as soon as you do find them, they make it their goal to slip away as quickly as possible. So far, it's not going as well as we would like. We're having a little trouble holding on to her. That just shows that they're doing very well.
I would say the best thing for me in terms of working down in submarines would have to be you dive underneath the water, you play the old cat and mouse game, try to find the contact without him finding you. All of a sudden, wham, you know that you got him, and you start passing information out, and then the whole picture comes together and we're setting up for an attack.
Warships range about 6,000 yards.
Right ahead.
Range that, 23 minutes, 1,000 yards. In the 1,000-yard sector, 1 minute.
Good range. Stand by to fire the forward SEC. 3, 2, 1. Fire! Fire the forward SEC.
The Windsor's flare signals a successful torpedo attack on the surface ships. Chalk up another win for the Submariners.
I think the Windsor did quite well. We managed to sink most of them repeatedly from exercise to exercise, yes. And the real aim is to gain a higher level of tactical knowledge and understanding. This is the job I always wanted. I mean, you could be an accountant, you could be, nothing against accountant, but when you have the choice between the two, this is a pretty cool job.
Born as a tool of war, the submarine has been evolving for literally hundreds of years. Using their stealth, they gather intelligence, they protect borders, most importantly, they win battles. But in the end, it's the dedicated crews that make it all happen. Ow.
I'm a submarine man. Ping!